everybody. Welcome back to the Tipsy Ghost. We're your tipsy hosts, Sarah, and Lindsay.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question.
You always have questions, and we will always have answers.
If you had to go into battle with only the items tattooed on you, would you survive?
What?
Like that, what we have tattooed on our bodies now is what we
Yes.
would carry into battle.
Like if you had it tattooed on you and then that object could become real life, would it help you in battle? Would you survive?
I don't have a gun tattooed on my body.
I'm so confused. So I don't currently have it, but like I would get it tattooed.
No.
No, the tattoos you have now currently on your body are your weapons.
Oh, that's what I was confused about.
Does your Taylor Swift ghost protect you?
I mean, I could just turn into a ghost.
Ooh, that is a good way to think about it.
They're your
No.
weapons.
Okay, no, Boyson says no.
A flower won't do me much good. I've got nothing.
You got a ghost on
I've
you.
got two ghosts.
So she can't turn into a ghost even though she has a ghost?
They
What?
can be her weapons.
So a ghost can be your weapon. It
I
could
can scare people.
Okay.
sneak because it's invisible and go and kill the army for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would use because right now this guy has a flower.
Hey,
It's not going to do me a lot of good.
your other one can be a throwing star.
Oh, this one?
Ooh.
No, your other tattoo.
Oh, my back?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Throwing stars. Those
Yeah.
are dangerous.
What about your toe
It's not a
tattoo?
sun, it's a star. That
throwing
one is
star.
so faded. I don't even know what it looks like anymore.
I was thinking your ghost that has the stars on him up there,
Yeah.
maybe he calls on the night sky, the moon, and the stars to fight for him.
Okay,
All right.
I like this.
You have potential.
I probably wouldn't survive. But
Lindsay.
Lindsay's going to throw books at him.
I got a book.
She's going to hit him with some knowledge.
And I got some stars.
Okay.
some
They can
HP
be-
knowledge.
And then
Throwing
this is
stars.
just like a symbol, so that's going to be nothing. Maybe it's boomerangs?
It's like the
Okay.
symbol for going really fast.
Ah, you're the Flash.
Super speed.
Ooh, yes, that's good. Like
Yeah.
turbo.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I've got words printed on my back. I don't know if the written word is going to help me.
You're going to confuse him with your words real quick.
Read
Look at
this.
It's in Greek.
Bet you don't know Greek.
Although
Unless
the word
they speak Greek.
Oh,
the
well,
word does mean strength, so maybe it means I will have lots of strength.
You also have potential.
Yes.
What about yours?
What about you?
I've got ghosts and symbols and smiley faces, and
She's got a triceratops.
my secret weapon is my triceratops.
Yes, she's gonna win.
I will ride my triceratops. They aren't super fast. However, he's got pointy horns.
Yes.
He's pretty small, though. Like, in comparison, he's as small as a flower.
No, this is a gigantic flower.
It can
I
be
see.
any size
Okay.
you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. It's the size of the biggest and oldest tree in the world,
Okay.
obviously.
Obviously.
Trino Mars.
What is your
Yes.
Taylor Swift ghost going to do?
Well, it's a cat, so it's going to scratch people.
Okay. And what about your skull? Your flower skull.
Scare people.
Okay. With flowers. Flower power.
Ooh, it'll confuse them. We're
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
what
Transform.
is that? And then all of a sudden, skull.
Mhm.
Ooh, okay.
Anyway, so I think we have a chance.
Who are we battling? We gotta know our enemy.
That's a mystery.
Oh,
Do you want to hear a story?
always.
Mhm.
My current obsession is the 1800s.
Oh, an interesting time.
Where in the 1800s?
Okay. The 1800s in the UK.
Okay.
Is this plague time?
That was the 1600s.
I know, but there was a lot of plagues.
They had lots of plagues.
Yeah, we've been down this road. When was Jack the Ripper
Ooh, he was the 1800s.
Okay.
in the UK?
We're not gonna guess it.
It really wasn't a clue to what I was going to talk about. It's just a fact that I really have been obsessing over the 1800s.
Oh, I thought we were going to 1800 England. I was ready.
I didn't know that. That's
Mhm.
exciting for
Okay.
you.
Like, I just like to think of the way people lived years ago
Okay.
Like without bathrooms.
without bathrooms.
The outhouses without medicine.
Electricity.
Yes. One of the reasons that I love the 1800s is the impact it had on modern medicine with advancements in medical technology and a significant increase in medical knowledge. Obviously, medicine had already come a long way at this point, and I'm not going to discount that. But at this time, it's like things started to click and we started to get an idea of how the body actually works.
Mm.
And it's now a time where like surgery isn't a total death sentence.
You learn to wash hands.
Washing hands is
Hygiene is important.
very important.
Yeah.
Also not saying that we cracked the code in the 19th century because yikes.
That's a really late time.
But it was a really big catalyst to get us where we are now. And obviously in 200 years, people are going to look back at where we are now and be like, wow, that's really barbaric.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
But we'll move on to Scotland
Okay.
in the early 1800s.
You like Scotland.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Indeed.
I'm just saying you like there too.
So in Edinburgh, there were a group of pioneers in the field of medicine who taught at a center for anatomical study. So specifically human anatomy.
Mm.
Think peeling back the skin to look at what's inside.
Okay, so like autopsies?
Yeah, literally, this is what they did using human cadavers. So learning anatomy is an imperative part of the study of surgery, right? You don't want your surgeon to open you up and not have a clue what they're looking at.
appreciate that.
Where's the gallbladder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, is it on the left or the right?
This looks like a kidney, but not sure.
They probably didn't put you to sleep very well either.
Right.
Yeah, that too.
So
You're racing against the clock.
Yeah.
You're gonna
If
wake
I'm
up.
not mistaken, I think chloroform, which back then was used as a,
Yeah, to knock you out.
I think that was invented in the 1800s.
probably.
So this particular center for anatomical study became one of the leaders in Europe. Like they were making a ton of advancements. And with that, they started to run into the problem where the supply of cadavers was not enough to keep up with demand. So at that time, Scottish law saw suitable cadavers as the bodies of those who died in prison, the bodies of those who died by suicide, and the bodies of orphans. But there were only so many bodies that fell into those categories, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like an endless supply of those people.
Got it.
So supply was still not enough to keep up with demand legally.
Mm-hmm.
So the teachers and the students, they were eager to learn even more, maybe a little too eager. And then also there were some citizens that saw an opportunity to make money. So they took to grave robbing as a solution.
Ew.
I read a book about this once. Grave robbing for cadavers.
It's probably a good book.
It was a good book.
I would read that.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, disturbing a grave was a criminal offense.
Right.
Taking property off the body was a criminal offense. What was not a criminal offense was stealing the body itself, because the body did not legally belong to anybody.
So they'd strip everything down.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a dumb loophole, because it's not really, because you still have to disturb the grave itself in order to get to the body.
Mm-hmm.
I guess unless you dug a tunnel. I'm not sure. The residents of Edinburgh started to notice Grandma's missing.
There's a hole where her casket was.
You just go to take some flowers. Oh no. Does she claw
She's
her way
escaped.
out? She's
Oh,
escaped.
God. Can you imagine?
It's a zombie.
Right. There's a zombie outbreak in
It's a
Edinburgh.
grandma zombie.
So concerned about zombie grandmas, they came up with ways to deter grave robbers. They built watchtowers that would sit in the middle of a graveyard and someone would keep an eye out.
I was
Smart.
hoping they'd have a jump scare at the grave.
Oh, like what?
Like when you to deter them. I don't know. Like when they go to dig up the dirt.
Uh-huh.
Like they put a fake hand that goes and jumps out at them.
Okay, like Halloween candy hand?
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
Or like they bury a balloon, and so whenever you go to dig the shovel,
Yeah.
it pops. They're
Like
Exactly.
some
"Whoa."
animatronics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that was around there.
Yeah.
They
They
should have
had that.
invented them then.
Gosh.
They should have invented a zombie arm.
You know
they
the
thought
zombie
body
arm
was
that
coming
comes
back to
down on
life.
you.
Mhm.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's where it came from.
Can you imagine though? You go to like dig, and then a zombie arm get your foot.
That's what I'm saying. That would deter me from
I would run.
digging a grave.
I would run very
Just
fast.
saying.
Not that we would be digging graves.
I wouldn't,
No.
because it's against the law.
There's a loophole.
You'd get real close.
I would have to dig a tunnel. So they tried building watchtowers. They tried large stone slabs that would sit on top of the grave long enough for the body to get to a condition where the anatomists would not like to
Where you
touch
don't
it.
want it.
Yeah.
You got to get a fresh body.
Decomposed?
Yeah.
Very decomposed. Some families use something called a mort safe, which was a giant iron cage that surrounded the entire coffin.
Didn't they do that for witches
Probably.
in the 1600s to
That's
keep them from
probably where they
escaping
got
the graves?
got the idea. They're like, oh, well, this worked really well for the witches.
If it's good
Bring
enough
it
for the
back.
witches, it's good enough for zombie grandma.
Grandma.
Where's my sewing needle? Cookies.
Our grandma voices are great.
Is that your zombie grandma?
Yeah.
Zombie
Bring me
grandma.
my cardigan. It's cold in here.
Where's
Zombie
my kitty
grandma's
cat?
asking about cookies.
You stole my family recipe.
Bring me my blanket.
Come give me a kiss. My grandma has a southern accent.
Sure she does.
She actually does.
In Scotland. Your Scottish
No,
Southern accent,
remember
grandma?
saying my grandma's voice.
Okay.
Our grandmas sound awesome. Cardigans, cookies,
Sewing needles.
sewing needles,
Kisses.
kisses.
Aw.
Zombie kisses. Zombie kisses are like
Bites.
they're bites.
And then you
They're
turn
love
into a
bites.
zombie.
Aw,
Kiss with your mouth?
they're love bites.
Like your teeth?
uh-huh.
Kiss with your teeth.
Grandma, you're biting my arm.
Okay. So these tactics were pretty successful, and soon enough, there was another cadaver shortage.
Well, yeah, people aren't dying fast enough. We need a plague.
I just find it hard to imagine, like, why do they need to be going through this many bodies?
It's an exciting time. They like peel back the skin. They're like, oh my gosh, I never noticed this blood vessel. We need to find another person.
See if they have it too?
Yes.
I get it.
And like you need to reference a lot of different things. This
To get a better
is
study.
the 1800s is
research.
when Grey's Anatomy was
Okay.
written and illustrated.
You're right. Everybody's very excited.
Very excited. We need all the bodies. So next, let's talk about two guys named William.
William and William. Will and Will.
William and Billiam.
Yes. William Burke, 35 years old, married to Helen. He was a cobbler, which is a shoemaker.
Oh, I thought he made cobblers.
Nope. He was a cobbler.
He made cobbles.
Cobbles were in a high demand.
Apple, blackberry, cherry. Who knows?
Honestly, it sounds too close to gobbler, and that makes me giggle, that word.
All right. He was a shoemaker.
I bet he liked to bake too.
His shoes. He bakes his shoes. Cobbles.
Okay.
Cobbles to cobbles.
Cobbles the cobbles. Okay.
We're good at
William
words.
Burke.
Right,
Yeah,
Burke makes shoes.
Described as industrious, good-humored, liked to sing and dance for his customers.
Wow.
Oh, that's
He's a
cute.
Bill of all trades.
He's a bill of all trades.
It took me a second. I was like, do you mean Jack? And then I got it.
No,
I'm
Bill.
so sorry.
No, I don't.
William Hare, somewhere between 23 to 35. We don't know. He lied to the police. He was married to Margaret, worked as a coalman's assistant.
Okay.
With coal. Not as fun as cobblers.
Yeah. He, not as fun either, was described as illiterate, uncouth, quarrelsome,
Oh.
violent, and amoral.
So we got good Bill, bad Bill.
It's a yin and yang.
Yep. Somewhere along the way, the very different Bills met and became friends. And turns out Bill Hare had a boarding house where he lived with Margaret, his wife. And so Bill Burke and Helen ended up moving into the boarding house, and the couples soon got a reputation for hard drinking and boisterous behavior.
That sounds,
Okay.
sounds right. The Bill's getting crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then on November 29th in 1827, Donald, a resident of the boarding house, died of dropsy, which is essentially congestive heart failure.
Thank you. I was going to ask.
I knew you would. I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Donald owed Bill Hare back rent.
Okay.
And so Bill Hare was upset that Donald had the nerve to die right before his army pension was to arrive.
That is so rude of him.
How selfish.
The nerve.
The nerve to drop like that from Dropsy.
Oh. Drop from Dropsy.
Is that why they called it Dropsy? Because they just
Drop dead.
Yes.
That's
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that.
I bet so.
I mean, Dropsy.
That's what I would say.
It's not very clever.
Dropsy. They dropped.
Yep, exactly.
It's like oopsie,
Yeah.
but oh,
Oops, you're dead.
Dropsy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not very sensitive to say, so they called it Dropsy instead.
No, he got the Dropsy.
Oops, you're dead. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
He died before his pension. I apologize.
Yes.
That was really
Yes,
rude
yeah.
of him.
So Hare complained to Burke, and together they decided to sell the body.
Oh, for cadavers, yes. Okay.
Yep, 'cause
Makes sense.
There's a shortage.
Yep.
They knew that somebody would probably buy it.
This is going to be the start of a bad idea, Bill and Bill.
They took the body to Edinburgh University to sell it. They split their reward because, of course, somebody took it. And Hare received a little more because he still needed to cover the unpaid rent that Donald rudely left behind.
Sure.
But the end of that transaction, the assistant told the men that they, quote, would be glad to see them again when they had another to dispose of.
Exactly. They're going down the bad road. Now they're going to make someone be a cadaver.
I think you're a fortune teller.
I know
Making
where
their
this
own
is going.
business. Yeah.
So in under a year, they murdered 16 people
Ooh.
and sold the bodies, usually by luring them and then having them drink a lot of alcohol and then suffocating them. But not all of the murders happened this way. That was just their most common method. They were caught when the final victim's family started asking questions, and when those questions weren't answered to their liking, the police got involved. And this led to the final victim's body being discovered in a dissecting room belonging to Dr. Knox, who at the time was a notable anatomist. There was enough evidence to charge Burke and Hare for the most recent murder. And during the investigation, Dr. Knox told police that Burke and Hare had been watching poorhouses in town and bringing bodies to the doctor, who then purchased them before anybody else could actually claim the bodies. And the investigator then concluded that Dr. Knox was, quote, deficient in principle and heart, but didn't think he had actually committed a crime. Is buying dead bodies okay at that time?
I mean, no, but he probably didn't kill him first, is I guess what they're saying, right?
He didn't kill him. He kind of encouraged it, but he didn't kill
I
him.
mean, he wasn't
provided
going to
the-
oppose it.
Yeah, he provided the motivation.
Yes.
Like, set the perfect trap. If you bring me a body, I'll give you lots of money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, police had caught on that there were likely other murders, and they had several missing people, by the way, but there weren't any bodies. But luckily, the public caught wind of the investigation, and people started reporting that the Burkes and the Hares, both husband and wife, were wearing various items of clothing that the public knew once belonged to various victims.
How can they be that dumb?
Greed.
People are stupid sometimes.
I didn't kill them. It just looks like your grandma's cardigan.
We bought it from the same place.
It was at Target, okay?
Ooh.
Thrifted it.
So Burke, Hare, and their wives were brought in for questioning. Hare happened to go first, and he was offered immunity in exchange for full details and to be a witness at the trial. And, of course, he made a full confession for all of the deaths.
Yeah, makes sense.
That was enough to send Burke to trial, and in the end, he received a guilty verdict. He was not only sentenced to death, but also dissection of his own body publicly.
Ooh. Public dissection, okay.
This is because the Murder Act of 1751 had a provision that said, quote, in no case whatsoever shall the body of any murderer be buried, end quote. And it also mandated that the body either be subjected to public dissection or hanging in chains.
So they had to dissect his body because of his crime.
Yes. Also, in
Wow.
a way, it's like sweet
Ironic.
justice.
Yeah, it's kind of irony.
Except for the other people were already dead, right? Before they were dissected?
He's going to be hanged
It's
and
gonna
then
be hanged
dissected.
And then dissected.
Okay. I
Fair
thought they
enough.
were dissecting him alive.
No, that
I
is
was
very
like,
cool.
wow. And then you guys are like, yeah, that's sweet justice. I'm like, holy crap.
Boyd's and I are dark.
Wow, it's very tortured.
That's the plan. Die first, then dissect.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay. Glad we clarified.
Thank you.
Prior to his execution, he provided 2 statements confessing to everything and also blaming most of the murders on Hare.
Of course they're going to blame each
Naturally.
other.
And Burke was hanged on January 28th, 1829, in front of a crowd estimated at 25,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
Wow. That is a lot of people.
People were fascinated with this story. They must have been.
Well, that's probably a lot of people missing grandmas.
Well, that's true. Not 25,000, though.
I remember, though, that, like, weren't hangings pretty public spectacles? Like, a lot of people would come out.
Mhm.
Families would come out. Like, it was the thing you did.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like this was, I mean, murder's terrible, but this was like a scandal. This is not, people didn't normally go and kill people and then sell their bodies.
Yeah.
So his corpse was publicly dissected by another notable anatomist, Dr. Monroe, as a large number of students gathered to watch. It lasted for 2 hours, and then Dr. Monroe dipped his quill pen into Burke's blood and wrote, quote, "This is written with the blood of William Burke, who was hanged at Edinburgh. This blood was taken from his head."
Thank you for specifying.
Okay.
Where did he write it?
On paper. And that's actually still on display at a museum.
I wondered.
His skeleton was given to the Anatomical Museum of the Edinburgh Medical School, where it remains today. His death mask and a book bound with his tanned skin is on display at the Surgeons Hall Museum.
Okay, Leatherface.
But that murder act said that murderers can't be buried.
So they're using every part of his body.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Helen and Margaret ended up fleeing separately from town, and there's really not any information on what happened to them afterwards. Hare had stayed in custody for his protection, but after his release and a run-in with a mob of angry people on the way out of town,
Yeah.
he escaped and was never heard from again.
Wow. He got away.
Dr. Knox, the guy who was buying the bodies, he refused to make any public statements, but the common thought that he was guilty in this as well, and he should have been held accountable. He ended up stepping down. He was edged out of the teaching and surgeon communities, and he ended up working in pathology and in a hospital until his death. And before all this happened, an English philosopher named Jeremy Bentham did question the supply of all these cadavers. And even 6 months before the murders, a bill was drafted by a committee in the parliament that would prevent the unlawful disinterment of human bodies and to regulate the supply of bodies for schools of anatomy.
It's probably a good thing.
But it wasn't passed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The Burke and Hare murders brought the issue to a more public light, and this ultimately resulted in the Anatomy Act of 1832, which authorized dissection on the bodies from poorhouses that were unclaimed after 48 hours. It also ended the practice of dissection as part of the death sentence for murder. That's a very popular story of the body snatchers.
You know,
Body snatchers.
I've never heard that story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It sure sounds like it would be around the time of Jack the Ripper. And wasn't he suspected to be a surgeon? And this is around the time when they were like, you know.
Because he made like really clean cuts.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard of body snatchers because I read that book, and it was actually based in Edinburgh as well. And the guy was a grave robber, and the girl was she was trying to study to be a surgeon, and they wouldn't let her because she was a female. And so they would rob graves, and so she could practice in private.
I feel like we've done another story too about, it sounded familiar, like maybe Holmes, was it early on? I don't know. I was doing something similar.
Are you meaning H.H. Holmes?
Before he went into the murder castle. I don't know.
The idea of it sounded familiar. I knew we hadn't done Burke and Hare, but I felt like we had done something about some sort of body something.
I know Geen did. He grave robbed.
Yes. Maybe it was Geen.
Maybe you've talked about grave robbing with the buried alive thing, because you talked about like the little alarms that they would have.
Yes.
So maybe we've swerved around it before, but we've never actually done it.
And now we crashed right into it.
We crashed right into zombie grandma.
Oh,
zombie granny
in
made
her
an
cardigan
appearance.
from Target.
She sounds adorable.
Ye old Target.
Ye old Target.
Does she still have her little white hair?
Yeah, and her little glasses.
Yeah, why not? That are attached on
with
like
the
a
chain.
frame. Yes.
Yes, pearls.
You knew what I was saying.
I do.
Pearl chain.
Pearl chain, and she's got her compression stockings on.
Good job, Gran.
And a nice floral dress.
Yes.
Aw.
Anyway, good news. I've got many more stories from the 1800s.
I can't wait to
We've
hear
just
about
been
them.
collecting 1800 stories.
I don't know what it is. I'm obsessed.
I quite enjoy it. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in this week to our true crime episode. You can always find us at thetipsyghost.com with our socials linked from there, or send us an email at thetipsyghost@gmail.com.
Please give us a 5-star rating and a great review. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, we really appreciate it, and it really does help.
I didn't do it that time.
I was watching.
But I tried not to.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.